is Monday, August 16th. There we go. And Jason Aponte, Andrew Pasquini, Sprint Ride Option podcast. And Jason, we have a real football game to talk about today, buddy. That's pretty exciting, huh?
A real football game in terms of actual football being played, but not a real one in terms of the score matters.
Yeah, it's a real fake football game, but it's important within itself though, because it's our first look of not just all the big names, Trey Lance, Trey Sermon, all the big names. It's also the first, Levi Stadium is full again. It was exciting on Saturday, and I want to start off with the most important question, Jason. Is the Niners starting 0-1 in the preseason concern? No, I'm joking. It's the preseason. We're here to talk about just the individual aspects of that game, and it was just good. So we'll start with just Levi Stadium. I think seeing it full for the first time in a year was very, 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 very exciting. So what were you feeling the first time you heard the crowd roar with the anticipation of like Trey Lance coming on the field the first time, or the roar of the Trent Sherfield touchdown pass, all that? How did that feel watching, Jason?
When we had Tart on the show and we asked him about, did that matter at all? He said, no, not really. But I mean, I'm not trying to call him a liar or anything like that, but I'm sure that something had to do with that, right? And it was really, if it was cool for us to see on TV, then it had to be cool for them to be there in the stadium and hear all that. So yeah, that Sherfield touchdown, the call, I mean, I can't get it out of my head. No disrespect to Greg Papa or Tim Ryan, but all I could think in my head every single time that anything good happened was Trey Area, and it's just like, all right, bro, it's just in my head. So, but it was great to hear the roar of the crowd, to have them there, and I'm sure that the players felt that juice in the stadium because that the city, every 49er fan, they've been waiting for the stadium to be open like that.
Greg Papa said the word lit a lot too, and I didn't know how I felt, but he was red. Hey man, It's not just for the players too, but I mean, I'm sure Tim Ryan and Greg Papa very excited because like calling touchdowns, the touchdown San Francisco with no crowd behind it, like it's fun,
not the same.
It's exciting, but they have the crowd behind it. I thought that was actually one of the biggest misses is CBS went to commercial, and that's not necessarily on the broadcast. They got to get their spots and all that stuff, but Trey Lance is coming on the field, and as you hear the crowd ramping up, that's when they went to commercial. I don't blame them, but it would have been cool just to stick with it a little longer. Everybody was excited. Everybody knew it was Trey Lance time, and it was exciting.
I got a chance to hear it because you're local, so you get to watch it on TV. I had to watch it on Game Pass. So what happens on Game Pass is that when you cut away to commercial, the stadium feed stays in there. So I was able to hear it. The roar of the crowd was super loud. And people were jacked as soon as he got in the game. So I did actually get to hear that because Game Pass doesn't actually show commercials. They cut to commercial break, and then the feed just goes back into the stadium, and it just stays there until it's time for it to come back on.
Oh, so you got to hear that. I did not. And that's okay. As I said, the broadcast has to get their commercial money and all that stuff. I'm not complaining at all. Don't think I am. So the Niners lose 19-16. As I said, that is not important. I think
break up the team. It's over. Season over. Break up the team.
Blow it up. Is Shanahan on the hot seat? That's what we're here to talk about.
Shanny and Lynch on the hot seat for losing one of these games. Get them out of here.
I think the only cool thing about the final score is it was the number Joe Montana wore with both those teams. So 19 for the Chiefs, 16 for the Niners. But we're here mainly to talk about, the players that stood out, the players that didn't. And obviously we're going to start with the quarterback position, a conversation, Jason, you and I haven't had a lot because we've been waiting for things to change. We weren't going to force a conversation where there wasn't one. But now there's conversations to be had. Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance. Jimmy Garoppolo gets 4 throws, 1 coming back on a pass interference by Warner, which, is what it is. It's preseason. Trey Lance getting the remainder of the first quarter, the second quarter, and he dipped into the third quarter a little bit, which was surprising, I thought. So what are your thoughts on the two quarterbacks? Where do you stand right now in terms of, I'm not asking Jason to tell me who's starting week 1. I'm not going to ask that yet because it's week 1 of the preseason. Nobody knows yet. What were your thoughts on the two quarterbacks?
I kind of find it odd that if every single lineman, first-team lineman didn't play, then why put Jimmy Garoppolo out there? I don't know what to make of that, honestly. But, yeah, Jimmy just did Jimmy things, got rid of the ball quickly. That was it. Nothing to take away from that. There's really nothing to discuss with Jimmy Garoppolo on the front in that game. Nothing at all. Like, that was a nice throw, but, yeah, it got called back, and then, boom, that was it. check down on 3rd and 14 or whatever it was, and that's it, off the field. With Trey, some good, some bad. You guys know the good. There's some bad. He's learning pretty quickly that windows close fast in the NFL. And you see it until you don't see it. And when you let it go, it's almost like, you ever seen a quarterback throw the ball and say, oh my goodness, there's a guy who's just underneath you didn't see. They had some exotic ways that they were going at him, which he's got to learn. Again, get the reps, go for it. But everybody's going to look at the Sherfield throw. That was great, but he had 3 drops. So that's part of the context and the conversation around his performance. But also, I think he's learning the speed of the game. He's learning that even those 2nd and 3rd team defensive players, those windows close fast and you have to make decisions quickly, and that's fine, and I think he learned a little bit about protection and where the ball's come and where the rush is coming from and when the ball needs to come out. But overall, you couldn't have asked for anything more. Nobody got hurt. He took too many hits for my liking, but Shanahan did say 30 snaps, and that's why if he would have gotten off the field, he got off the field pretty quickly. I believe on one of the last 2 drives, and then it spilled into the 3rd quarter, which got him those 30 snaps. So, so look, excitement, you see it. It's all there. That throw to Sherfield, that's a throw that you haven't seen attempted in a long time, especially from that hash to the other side on a rollout. That's exciting. But yeah, the Rook's got some things that he's got to clean up, and that's good. Again, we talked about it right after. I'm kind of happy that some of the bad things happen because it's hard to evaluate quarterbacks when everything is going right because it very rarely is just going to roll smoothly. I want to see him go through some tough times, some things that he didn't see coming, so he can work through it. That was a perfect setting to do that, and I think that he responded pretty well.
Yeah, and going back to Garoppolo. As I said, he made 4 throws. My biggest thing is 2 of them were behind the receiver. That was scared me. His first throw, Deebo Samuel makes a great move to get the first down. He kind of cuts back upfield. If Garoppolo throws it in front of him, that's a walk-in first. Not a walk-in, but he gets the first down without any effort. Bare minimum, he's getting the first down, maybe even more with his ability in the open field. Hokett, his throw to Hokett, his second throw was a quick throw. And it was another one behind Hokett, but if it gets in front, it's a first down. I don't think he got a first down there. His best throw was to Ayuk, and Ayuk was wide open in the middle of the field because of a pick from Warner. And it was a throw that you want to see from an NFL quarterback. It was about 5 yards down the field, so it's not like it's a wild throw, but got it in front of Ayuk. Ayuk was able to turn up the field. And then the check down, I had no issue with it. As I said, I tweeted it out when it happened. I know a lot of people were upset about it because Jimmy Garoppolo is checking down. It's the first drive of the first preseason game. No point in taking unnecessary risks to me. I'm sure some other people will disagree with me. And then Trey Lance comes in. And his first play, he steps up. He has to move in the pocket. And he fires a fastball in that Brandon Ayuk, I don't think he expected it to come out that hot. But I don't think we've seen a play like that from afar. I mean, Garoppolo has done it once every so often, but for Trey Lance to do something like that on his very first snap, a play that we haven't seen consistently since probably Colin Kaepernick, to step up like that and fire it in there. Ayuk drops it. It's unfortunate. They had drop issues. His best throw of the night was to Richie James on the sideline. James drops it. So nobody's really going to talk about that throw because of the drop. I mean, they'll talk about the drop. And then obviously the big play, of course, it's the Sherfield too, because Sherfield's that guy that everybody is excited about at this point. I think Sherfield is the hottest name that's not one of the big names, if that makes sense. Trey Lance made me feel things. That's all I'm going to like. I think I'm just going to put it like that. Now, if you watch Trey Lance and you sat there and said, there's no way this guy can't start or isn't starting week 1. I think you're taking it a little far so right now, because there was a few he had a few no throws, like I like to say with Garoppolo. The one I was thinking of was the one that was almost intercepted. There was another one that was in between 2 defenders that Richie James probably could have caught, but he would have gotten blown up if he did. So there's good with bad. And I think it was pretty 50-50. I think there was just as much good as there was as much bad. But the big play, the 80-yard touchdown is the highlight. It's not like he had a bad interception. It's not like he had multiple interceptions. And we didn't really see him, be mobile, which probably Shanahan said, hey, man, don't be mobile. We get hurt a lot here. So let's not be too mobile tonight. So I think there was a lot of good, a lot of bad, and he's a rookie quarterback in his first game. He's also 21, which is wild to me because I'm 28 and I'm not anywhere near as good at anything as he is. He is at 21, so I think there was good and bad. I don't think there's nearly enough evidence to say there's a bona fide starter week 1.
Yeah, it couldn't have gone any better than that. He didn't get injured, anything like that. He got to feel the speed of the game. He got to feel how hard the hits are. He got to see how quickly the windows close. He got to see what can happen when guys drop passes on you and you've got to keep battling. And that's really what you want. Again, I can't evaluate guys when they're up 30-0 and everything they're doing is right, because that's not the norm. That's not what's happening. You need to be able to evaluate guys when things are going wrong, and some things went wrong. The line didn't play well in front of him. He saw some things that he hadn't seen because of the speed of the game, and that's great. He just needs to get those reps, Rook, and go for it.
Yeah, and I mean, so Jason, admit it. How many times have you watched the touchdown throw? Because I'm going to say I'm nearing triple digits.
Well, I really got close to triple digits, especially when you see the Spanish broadcast version of the call, and that is electric, absolutely electric. That really, I kept watching it over and over as if I had never seen the play and just going with the Spanish broadcast. It was so great. I advise anybody to check out the 49ers Twitter page so you could listen to that, because that will get you jacked up.
I will find that. But the one thing that I took away, he threw that ball from his own 12-yard line from the left side of the field, and he got it to the Kansas City 44 on the other side of the field. And that's a throw we haven't seen since I can't even think of a name. The Niners quarterbacks, it's Kaepernick. That's probably the name I'm thinking of. But outside of Kaepernick, I mean, who have we seen make that type of throw? And that's what we saw in his pro days when he's doing the rollout throw all the way across the field. We know he has that arm strength. And of course, it's on like his third throw. That play, like that's the one that you blur the line of. It's preseason, Andrew. Calm down. And you say, well, if he does that in the regular season, there's no way he can't start. But as I said, it's too early there. Do you have anything else on the quarterbacks before we shift to other positions?
Yeah, I really don't understand why we didn't see any Nate Sudfeld. I mean, and this is me being completely serious. This is me being completely serious.
Yeah.
Look, Josh Rosen, every single day that we were there in camp, he'll have one throw where you're like, oh my goodness, there's that arm talent. And then 10 others that were just like, oh my God, what is he even doing on this team? And Sudfeld actually threw the ball well in camp. Actually, during drills, he would throw one of the prettiest balls, and he never got any shot. I think that he's almost a lock to make this team, even though he didn't play in that first game, because of how he's looked in camp. Like, he's looked much better than Josh Rosen. I think it's done. The experiment's over. Just cut the cord at this point. He's not going to be a backup to either of these guys. If Josh Rosen has to play any type of game for the 49ers that means anything, the season's lost. That's pretty much where I'm at with it. So yeah, get him out of there.
He will play the CJ Beathard role this year, right? That's roughly, if he gets in, it's not good. I see a lot of people talking about Trent Williams. He did come off the field, got his knee clipped.
Minor.
What was that?
Very minor. Yeah, no problem, nothing.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, and that could actually segue to the offensive line because, boy, oh boy, the offensive line was very, as the kids would say, sus. It wasn't good. Jalen Moore had issues. Aaron Banks had issues, and Banks is out a couple weeks. And we talked about it on the offensive line episode that dropped last week. The depth is the question, and I don't think game one of the preseason helped any of those questions.
No, right guard's a big concern right now. And in camp, Brunskill was the one taking the right guard position. And we talked about it. When you take Banks in the second round, you kind of assume that he's going to step right in and be the guy. Fortunately, that hasn't happened. Brunskill was not doing much better. It got to a point where Colton McKivitz had to be thrown into there. And dare I say the word Tom Compton out loud? I mean, a right guard is a little bit of a scary thing. But I will say this. Alex Mack not being in the game has a lot to do with the rest of the line. In camp, he was calling out protections. He was mauling Javon Kinlaw and other guys. So, yes, while I think that right guard is a concern, at the same time, it's hard to evaluate, that side without Alex Mack being there, seeing the protections, calling out the correct protections. So it's a mixed bag right now. Unfortunately, right now, it is a concern just because of what we saw. And that second O-line is a huge, huge concern. So you talked about depth. one injury and, there's no Justice School now. Brunskill felt like a Swiss Army knife, and now who knows, because I don't know what's going on right now. It was hard to evaluate with no pads on. But yes, offensive line, if you saw the way that Trey struggled, and right after he started taking some hits, you could see a little bit of, him not being gun shy, but him being aware of it. So the line is something that needs to be addressed, especially considering behind those starters.
Yeah, and I think at right guard, I think the name that makes me most comfortable is Brunskill. I think that's kind of an agreed thing here, but does he make you comfortable by himself? That's a whole other thing. But Alex Mack is going to clean up a lot of those issues, I think. I mean, it's the same idea with Trent Williams and Laken Tomlinson together. Is Tomlinson maybe by himself might not be the best, but I think with the help, I mean, Laken Tomlinson's in a very good position because he's sandwiched between two very good offensive linemen when the 49ers are at 100%. So yeah, Brunskill, does he make me comfortable? Not the most, but having Mac will help. I think that definitely changes the dynamic of the whole line. And as we said, Jalen Moore had a really rough game. I think that's putting it politely. But hopefully we don't have to worry too much about seeing Jalen Moore once the season comes up. So is it a bummer that Trey Lance probably had some plays taken away from him because he didn't have enough time in the pocket because of the left side? Yeah, it's definitely a bummer, but come regular season, whether it be Garoppolo or Lance, whoever the quarterback's going to be, Trent Williams is going to be there, so that's going to feel better. Coming up the center, you're going to have Alex Mack. So be concerned about the depth. Be very concerned about the depth. But if this offensive line stays healthy, they should be very, very solid.
Yep.
And then another position of concern as well, wide receiver. Not the best, not the worst. It was kind of dependent who you looked. I know Jennings looked pretty good. Sherfield had the very big play. Richie James, very hot seat right now, not just from receiver, but also kick return. He had a return where he caught it at the 6 and he got it to the 20. That's not what you want from your return man at all. So I think Richie James is on the hot seat through one game. That could change. He could have a very good game week 2 against the Chargers. Ayuk's obviously going to be there. Debo's obviously going to be there. After that, Jason, I almost called you Richie. Jason, where do we go?
Well, unfortunately, we found out that Austin Watkins is going to be placed on IR, which probably ends his season, which means he'll be a practice squad stash, so we won't be able to see him. The Juwan Jennings and Trent Sherfield development is very, very good and interesting. Juwan Jennings seems to be that big slot that Kyle Shanahan wants in Jalen Hurd and can't get out of him by getting him on the field, because Juwan Jennings caught 2 tunnel screens and went upfield on them, had strong hands on a Rosen ball that was in between in traffic. He plays much faster, and this was his profile when he came out of Tennessee. Plays much faster than his group, than his combine or anything like that. And here we go. Shout out to Brad. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, Brad.
But he played a lot faster. He looked good. Richie James is purely straight up on the roster bubble right now, even with this Jennings IR thing, because Simba Webster took a kickoff return and they started their drive at the 40. I didn't know what that's like. Yeah, I don't know what that's like. I don't know. I didn't know that was even possible. And with Richie James, it's just a continuation of what was happening in camp with the drop passes. I don't know. He's in his head right now. He's in his own head right now. And you know how quickly Kyle Shanahan will discard you to the shadow realm if you continue to not do things that he doesn't like. So, Debo, Ayuk, done. Mohamed Sanu is going to make this roster. Sherfield's making the team. So is Juwan Jennings at this point. That 6th spot is up for grabs. River Craycraft, Richie James, Simba Webster. I purely think that if Richie James doesn't make it, then it's going to be Simba Webster because of his return ability. So I kind of really like what I saw from Juwan Jennings, and shout out to Austin Watkins for trying to play through that broken foot in the game, because he knows that he's fighting for a roster spot, man. It's just a total bummer, man. I love that kid, and I love how strong his hands are. So we'll see him next year, and it might be a blessing in disguise because nobody's going to really take him off of the team, and he'll be able to work, because remember, Juwan Jennings was on this roster last year on IR, and now look, he's contributing this year. So yeah, let's just hope that's the way it plays out. But Juwan Jennings, Sherfield, those guys are making the team.
I think my overreaction, my biggest overreaction in week 1 of the preseason is Simba Webster is making this roster. Yeah. If not for receiver, for kick return, because that has been an issue. The Niners haven't had a good kick returner since Ted Ginn.
Right.
And that's Harbaugh years. So I think Richie James was good for 1 return. which was the kick return against the Seahawks in that one game they won at Levi's a couple years ago.
2017.
And 17, 18, 17, whatever year it was. And so, yeah, I think my hottest reaction is Simba Webster's making this roster. I liked what I saw. The receivers, I don't know, man. I think Jennings will make me more comfortable with the receiver depth if he shows what he did a little bit in game one of the preseason, a little bit more. Richie James, as I said, hot seat. Mohamed Sanu is going to make it. River Craycraft, he's kind of iffy. He made a name for himself because he played in that Thursday night game against the Packers where Jason Aponte was the 7th receiver available. So it's hard to tell with River Craycraft. I know Shanahan likes him. So that's something. We got a comment here from Ray.
Yep.
Niners need to trade Jimmy to be able to trade for O-line at the deadline and our CB depth. Solid team around Trey's talent equals deep playoff run. I don't know if you're going to get that much. I think picks are going to be what you get for Jimmy. If they do opt to trade him, whether or not they trade him, I don't know. I could see a world where they keep him there because cap space isn't too much of a worry at this point, just as long as you have enough available for practice squad guys calling up, send out, whatever it is. So I think we're past the point of talking Garoppolo trade, in my opinion, because look at the teams that need quarterback. The Colts, they have a money pit at quarterback already. They're not going to have the cap space to do that. Who's another team that needs a quarterback? I can't think of any off the top of my head. I'm so 49er focused, I can't even think about them.
Well, if any other team needs quarterbacks, it's not for this year. Washington is going to roll with Fitzpatrick. Ben Roethlisberger is the quarterback in Pittsburgh, so there's no an automatic need. And yeah, you're right. Nobody's going to trade a good old lineman. Like if you're a guy who can trade Jimmy Garoppolo, who is still right now, as of this day, August 16th, a starter in this league, for a backup lineman or depth or something like that, I don't really see you making that move. And Jimmy Garoppolo would have to be playing at a level that we haven't seen. And then at what point, why would you trade somebody who's playing that well, right? Or just keep rolling them and win games. And then at the end of the year, you evaluate. I think the team knew what they were doing. As much as I pounded the table for cornerback depth, we'll talk about that in a little bit. I just don't see it happening right now unless, somebody does something super foolish. But yeah, I understand the idea of trying to get deeper there. It's a good point because offensive line, cornerback, those are concerns, but I just don't see it happening because Kyle Shanahan, at least no matter what, even if he does turn it over to Trey Lance week 1, still has that in his back pocket that Jimmy Garoppolo can operate this offense with some sort of competence. And what happens when you don't have that, i.e., Nick Mullins, CJ Beathard. So that's the thing. I really don't see that, if Trey gets hurt or something like that or doesn't play well, he can still turn back to a guy who has proven he can win games and execute this offense. Yeah,
it's a trade you make in Madden. In real life, it's a lot more complicated. Tony says trade a 4th for a Justin School type.
That's fine.
Sure.
That's fine.
I like that because they need that line depth. To me, that's the biggest concern on this team. Maybe outside of defensive back depth. Which, hey, guess what, Jason? Let's talk about the defensive side of the ball because I think there was a few players who had really good games. Hufanga definitely had a good game.
Yep.
Why am I forgetting it? Arden Key. I thought Arden Key had a pretty good game too.
Yeah.
Diamador Lenore had a very good game. His interception, a little he was right place, right time. If that ball's on the spot, it's not an interception. Obviously, it was tipped. But I thought Lenore was very good in coverage. Ambry Thomas, I was pleasantly surprised at how good he looked, especially what I heard outside of camp. What are your thoughts? Let's start on the secondary. Let's just break this up into position groups. What's your thoughts on the secondary first game of the preseason?
Yeah, Dante Johnson and Lenore started. Dante Johnson is going to be on this roster come hell or high water. Always, don't worry about that. That's always going to be somebody who's going to be there. But Lenore actually really looked very much like the part. And it's funny because Ambry Thomas went higher than him in the draft, and I have been down on Ambry Thomas in camp. He did play well. They just didn't test him. So I don't know. Again, it is so hard to evaluate these guys now that there's no all 22 or anything like that we can look at because I can't see every single rep and focus on that. The broadcast angle doesn't give you any of that. But yes, Lenore, right place, right time with the interception. Hufanga, man, what I noticed about him was he was running a lot of single high. So that shows the confidence that they have in him. For him to be the last line of defense up there, for him to play closer to the box, seemed like he was everywhere. On special teams, anytime that the pile lifted up, Hufanga was there. That seems to be a huge find. And we talked about it, in the instant reaction show, being in the camp, first guy out, last guy in. I know that that's stupid to say. That sounds like something Dan Campbell would say. Like that's just a stupid cliche, but it really isn't when it comes to necessarily like going forward, like with a guy who's hungry to learn, and that's exactly what's going on. So, yeah, I mean, Hufanga was great, and yeah, I was really impressed with Lenore and those other guys. Arden Key is very good. We've been talking about him a lot, and yeah, I mean, it was a good showing from those guys. The secondary still worried me a little because you could see what would happen if BW Webb was forced into any sort of action. Immediately got cooked for a touchdown in the red zone. So the secondary, you got to hope that those guys can maintain that level of play just in case of injury and things like that.
Yeah, I thought Hufanga had a great game. I think he's going to be a very good hybrid safety linebacker type. Jaquiski Tartt's going to be your week 1 starter if he's healthy. I don't think Hufanga can do anything about that personally. If Tartt's not ready for week 1, then Hufanga's probably starting. I think he's the leader in the clubhouse.
That's the plan, though. Jaquiski Tartt is still on track for week 1, no matter. And here's how I know he's not on IR. He's not on IR. If Tony Jefferson went on IR for the groin, then you guys who are saying doom and gloom for Tartt, the plan was for him never to be there in camp at all. Why is it doom and gloom? He's not in the IR at all. Yeah. Get worried when he gets put on the IR. They knew for the whole plan the entire time was for him not to be available during the preseason or in camp. So I'm not too worried about it. The plan is going accordingly.
Yeah, no, he will be there. He will be there. Perfect reason is he's not on the IR, as Jason said. So I'm not too worried in terms of starting week 1. But if something does happen with Tartt, I think Hufanga is a very good player to have there. You talked about Lenore. I thought he had a pretty good game. And as I said, Ambry Thomas, I thought he was decent in coverage. He had a play that I thought could have been called a pass interference on the fast motion where he got beat a little bit by Fontaine, but he did. It was actually very good jostling for the ball. I was pretty happy
actually got called. He actually got called on a PI on the play with Tyreek Hill. Just got there a smidge early. But then again, that's good. It's good instincts, right? Like he was right there in position. He just literally got there a half a second before the ball did. So that should go to show you instincts. And that's really what you want to look at, especially from a guy who's a rookie and somebody who has been profiled as a ball hawk. He was right there at the right time. He just 1 second late. He got a little antsy. So good things all around for Hufanga.
Yeah, and then transition from Hufanga because the pass interference I was okay with. I was very okay with because if that ball is there a second earlier, that's a big hit, and we are talking about that hit. Talking about going from safety to linebacker with Hufanga, Justin Hilliard had a very good game. Jordan was all about it on Saturday when we talked about it after the game. I thought Justin Hilliard had a very good game. He almost had an interception, kind of found himself in the right place at the right time. I think there was a little more to that than Lenore's interception. But he was just kind of all over the place. What do you think about Hilliard, Jason?
Yeah, that's Hilliard's profile. High motor, doesn't stop, and it's the guy who played 6 years in Ohio State because of injuries. So he's a guy who's going to continue to work hard. He's got a lot to prove. Didn't really show too much in camp, but yeah, he did have a good showing in this game, and he's just a high motor guy. Sometimes you'd like to take that motor and put it into other guys who are either more talented, but hey, give him credit. He was actually playing very well. Here's the guy, Jonas Griffith. Right now. Aziz Al-Shaair might not be around, for whatever reason because of the concussion or something like that. But apparently, coach I think said today that he's going to be back. But Jonas Griffith in camp, he's like a ball magnet. The ball just gets to him. He had an interception that was like right in his hands that he dropped. Next day, gets that interception. Jonas Griffith is showing out, man. That kid is a baller.
I just realized I got Hilliard and Griffith mixed up.
Yeah, it's Griffith.
So that's what happened there. Yes, Griffith was who I was talking about, the near interception. He also had a play that I wrote down. Jonas Griffith found the hole to hold Williams to a 2-yard run. It was a 3rd and 1. They got a first down. If he's in that hole a split second earlier, he's stopping that. He's stopping that right away. It's not going to be a first down. Hilliard, I apologize. I got it mixed up. Griffith, very, very high on Jonas Griffith right now. Kendricks is coming in. I'm not sure exactly what the plan is with him yet. Maybe Jason, you saw something. What do you think they're going to do with Kendricks?
I think he's just depth right now. Again, we don't know what's going to happen because I don't know if he practiced today, but he wasn't on the field. He hasn't practiced anything like that yet, but he's just there right now. Camp bodies. Same thing with HaHa Clinton-Dix, who had an interception today on Trey Lance. It's more about just having bodies just in case and preparing. You need camp bodies. That's it. You need guys who can run the drills at this point. So it's good for them to be there, but I don't know what sort of impact they're going to have. Michael Kendricks is fine, provided he doesn't have to guard Kyle Juszczyk. Ooh, sorry. Didn't mean to bring that up.
And then the pass rush. I thought the pass rush had a pretty good game. As I said, Arden Key was probably the one that stood out. I know Givens had a couple good pressures. What was your thoughts on the line? I think Key was probably the best. You have a different idea?
No, Key was good. I mean, just pretty much what we've been saying about, the second team O-line. Is it the second team O-line being bad, or is that the second team defensive line for the 49ers could start on many teams? And that's just how it is. Like, that's how deep they are. So it's going to be interesting to see how that moves. Arden Key, Mo Hurst, all those guys. So they're going to line them up in very exotic ways and bring them out for when the games actually matter. Everything was so vanilla, that you're not really going to see any of the plans. But what we were seeing in installs was, during walkthroughs in camp was, a little bit of D Ford in the middle, Arden Key outside, just different formations and different ways that they're going to be lining up. So I expect a lot more when the lights actually go on, or you'll see a lot more in the dress rehearsal, at least in terms of what D'Amico Ryans wants to do with these guys.
Yeah, the defensive line, negative worry. If we're power ranking, the positions I'm worried about, defensive line is like way at the bottom. I don't even know if it's on the list. I'm not worried about it at all. Jason, we're going to take some questions here in a minute. The fun question, I'm very excited. Actually, no, I want to say one special teams thing real quick. Robbie Gould missed a PAT that nobody cared about because it was so electric with the Trey Lance touchdown. Jason is making my favorite face when I bring up these special teams. So that was a special teams conversation.
Abolish kickers and go for it on every fourth down. Every single one of them. Cut Mitch Wisnowski and cut Robbie Gould and go for it every fourth down. What are we even doing here?
Jason loves special teams, guys. You guys can't tell. So we'll take questions here in a minute. Jason, 3 stars are back. Who is your third star of the game?
Ooh, Jawan Jennings, man. So Jawan Jennings is somebody that, again, like I said, is pretty much what they want Jalen Hurd to be. Jalen Hurd just cannot put it together with practices, getting on the field. But Jawan Jennings has that dog in him. He has strong hands. He looked good on those tunnel screens. It was quite obvious. Coach today said something to the effect of an old school receiver, and a lot of receivers could learn a lot from him. And if Kyle Shanahan is praising you, Trey Lance was airing the ball out in practice, and we were there, and it was amazing, right? Ripping off runs. And he was like, I thought he had a decent day. So when Kyle Shanahan even says something really nice about you, he really means it. Jawan Jennings, my third star.
My third star, I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit. I'm going to take Trey Lance just for how he made me feel on the 80-yard touchdown, because the first thing that came out of my mouth, and I overreacted, and I'm saying I overreacted right now, so please do not run with this and say Andrew Pasquini said the 49ers are winning the Super Bowl. The first things that came out of my mouth was the 49ers are winning the Super Bowl this year. So just for that, I'm picking Trey Lance for star number 3.
Yeah. Good one. Sorry. There was a comment that came up. I got reminded that the 49ers drafted a punter in the 4th round. Hey. Anyway.
Hey, I got one even better. The Raiders once drafted a kicker in the 1st round. So.
There you go. All right. So, second star. I'm not going to pick Trey Lance. I'm just going to stick with wide receivers, Trent Sherfield. Everything that he's been doing in camp is right there evident for you. And those were the type of plays that he was making, whether it was Trey Lance on the field, whether it was – see, here's the thing. Someone on Twitter asked a very nice question about, okay, how much does Trent Sherfield's emergence have to do with Trey Lance? And I said, not really much, because Trent Sherfield's been getting open regardless who the quarterback is, and every single quarterback has been targeting him. Trent Sherfield, it might be just this diamond in the rough that Arizona, while they were wasting time with Hakeem Butler and Andy Isabella and all these guys that are probably not going to be on it. Hakeem Butler's not even on the team. Andy Isabella's about to get cut. Was probably the guy that they should have been running out there with Christian Kirk and DeAndre Hopkins. So I feel like we all just thought he was going to be a special teamer, but it was evident the first day that I was there in camp. I'm like, who is 81? And it every time that there was a big play, it was usually Trent Sherfield. Trent Sherfield, star number 2, a lock to make this 53-man roster.
Hey, lock. Trent Sherfield, a great pick. I'm going to go Arden Key. I was very impressed. I had a couple notes with him. He almost had a couple sacks. He almost got a strip sack too. He blew by the left tackle a couple times. He almost forced a fumble on Henny. And he felt like he was in the backfield the whole game. And if that's the, and I know he's facing second string offensive lineman, whatever, Arden Key, he was fine with the Raiders. I think he was fine enough with the Raiders. Obviously the Niners thought so to bring him in. I'll take Arden Key for the second star, my second star.
Yep. Okay. My number 1 star, Diamador Lenoir.
Okay.
And this is in such a place right now where, again, right after Mosley, it gets scary. Again, listen, you can see the flashes with Lenore. We saw it in practice and in camp. But again, the track record, can he do it? This is going to go a long way to proving what he can be. And if he is pressed into duty, then I feel much better about it. I know it's just one preseason game. You don't want to actually react to that, but he did have to cover Tyreek Hill, those guys in the beginning, that first drive. So it's good for him to get his feet wet in that way, and especially against such a potent offense, even if they were only on the field for one drive. But Diamador Lenore was everywhere, and if he can become what the 49ers think he is, because he was pegged as a slot corner, now being an outside corner who can help, this is such a boost to this offense, to this defense. And Diamador Lenore really impressed me. So that's my number one star.
I will take Talanoa Hufanga.
Nice.
The second drive for the Chiefs, he had a couple plays that, the Chiefs ran an end around with Tyreek Hill. And I'm not going to knock him for this because Tyreek Hill is the fastest man in the NFL behind Raheem Mostert. He took kind of a bad angle that allowed Hill to get a little outside, but Hill is faster, and it's his first game. He had the pass interference, which I'm not even going to say is a negative play, because if the ball is there a split second earlier, as I said, that's a big hit. But then after that, he had a good couple of tackles. There was one play, it was a 3rd and 21 that Henne had to dump the ball off to McKinnon, and McKinnon missed a few tackles. Hufanga was there to make a very good, sure-handed tackle.
What was that name again?
Oh, Jerick McKinnon.
Oh, all right.
Jason's sad. We're big Jerick McKinnon guys here. If you're new,
no, yeah. Can we laugh a little real quick?
So we can always laugh.
So I wore the 28 jersey on the instant reaction, and there's a YouTube comment that's like, "Oh, sick Sermon jersey," and Kobe, shout out to Kobe, shout out to Kobe in the comments, because he said, he goes, "No, that's a McKinnon jersey," and the guy goes, "Well, Jason's about to lose all his credibility if that's a McKinnon jersey."
Oh man, hey, he had to be new. Thank you for listening, because McKinnon from the Wildcat has been a running thing on this podcast, and it probably will be for as long as this podcast exists.
Oh my goodness, I laughed so hard. You got to stick to the bit. That vapor jersey was about like $45 after that 25 snap thing on this. So it was no issue to not buy that and use it to just have some fun. But yeah, that guy, whoever he is, shout out to him. I hope you're watching. Be disappointed in me for sure, because that definitely was a Jerick McKinnon jersey, Jerick McKinnon jersey, and not a Trey Sermon jersey.
Yes, but even back to Hufanga.
Sorry,
just to see him being able to, the way Ryan used him and using him as a safety, but also dropping him in as a linebacker. It excites me because, just like Jordan, I'm very big Jordan Elliott. Go follow him on Twitter, Splash Cousins, if you haven't already. I'm big on positionless football. I think that's the way of football and how it's going to be. And the Niners getting one of those guys on the defense. You could treat it. He's got the skills where you could either you pretty much have 2.5 safeties and 2.5 linebackers on the field at all times. And I think that's a very good thing, especially in today's age. And so seeing the way he was used and then seeing him execute. And as I said, I think the most impressive play from him was that tackle on McKinnon, because McKinnon is very shifty. He's a very shifty running back. We've seen it. We know how he can be. And he made a very sure tackle on that 3rd and 21. And if they give up a first down on a 3rd and 21, obviously, as I said, it's preseason, not that big of a deal. But a regular season, you give up a 3rd and 21, especially in the second quarter at the 2-minute warning, and they get a first down. That's a back-breaking first down. So Hufanga, for me, I think he stood out the most. The only thing I have with Diamador Lenore is 38. We got to get him a new number. 38 is not a cornerback number in my mind. And actually, that's my biggest complaint about watching football right now is I have to remember everybody now. Jimmy Ward, I was very confused watching that. Obviously Ward wasn't out there. Jason Verrett wasn't out there, but watching other team games, I was just like, I saw PS2. I saw PS2 a lot over the week, and I'm like, who's that? I don't know. So I got to learn all these new numbers again.
Can I whisper something real quick?
You can whisper anything you want.
Tom Brady was right.
What was Tom Brady right about?
About not being able to figure out who's a linebacker, who's a safety, and it's ridiculous. He was absolutely right. I'm looking, I'm like, wait a minute, what the heck is that? And it's a linebacker who's wearing number 5, and it's just it's madness, but it's going to be an adjustment period. I thought Tom Brady was just complaining to complain, and I'm not even the one who's taking the snaps behind the line and looking at it. I was confused. I can't imagine how confused he was.
Yeah, so I think our first big push as a podcast, Jason, is let's get Diamador Lenore a new number. Let's get him a new number.
I like it.
Because 38 doesn't feel like a defensive back number to me.
I like it.
But then again, he might like the number. So, hey, Diamador Lenore, if you're listening and you like that number, you stick with it. You do what you like. Jason, you have a pretty busy weekend coming up. And this is your YouTube channel we are on. So I'm going to let you plug everything you have going on this weekend with the channel, what you're planning to do. I'm assuming it's going to look a little bit like last week with training camp. So why don't you tell the people where they're going to be able to find you this week on YouTube?
Yep. Wednesday, I am flying out to LA, Costa Mesa practices, the joint practices against the Chargers. I will be going live with Jordan Elliott, Leo Luna. If you want to hop on right after as well, too, we'll pass you some notes. But we are going to be live at the joint practices against the Chargers and covering the game on Saturday. So tap into the channel. Make sure that you like this video right now. Sunday, I'm sorry. Make sure you like this video right now. Subscribe, put your notifications on, because we will be coming live to you right after the joint practices. Keenan Allen versus Jason Verrett, Trent Williams against Joey Bosa, Derwin James against George Kittle, Fred Warner against Austin Eckler, Justin Herbert against this whole defense. I am jacked. We are really going to find out where this team is at because the Chargers are loaded. This is going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you stick with the channel. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that notification bell, because we will be coming to you live right after each practice. Same deal as when we were out there for those for the training camp practices. So just make sure that you're tapped in. I'm excited, man. I can't wait to get out there. Never been to LA. First time that I'm going to be out there. So it's going to be great to actually cover this, because these joint practices have a lot of juice around them.
Yeah.
So yeah, get excited, guys. I'm excited, man.
And joint practices are back after 2020. None of them. That's exciting. Also, I was going to say I will for sure be here for the post game on Sunday, and maybe that's something we look into a little bit. For the regular season, we could talk about it off the pod. I don't know why I'm saying it now. Jason Aponte, I think we're at a good place to wrap it up. Just remember, Jason, no more parties in LA. What else do I have to say? Oh, yes, with the season coming up, we probably won't have much time to talk about it anymore, but I want to say the New York Yankees are the hottest team in baseball right now.
Don't care. Not a real sport.
Big series against the Red Sox should be exciting for Yankees.
Don't care.
Fans,
You're not
Jason
sucking me back
care.
in. Yeah, I'm literally right now. I'm that guy from Major League 2 with the backwards hat and then writing it just like, they'll blow it in the playoffs. They will. And then if they do win, then I'm going to be back and just jump right out in the field.
This might be the last time the New York Yankees are mentioned on this podcast until the next baseball season, because we're fully locked in. We are underway. The season is starting. We're here. We are here. This is what we're waiting for. Ruben, you are wrong. DH in the National League. I'm sorry. That's just, I don't make the rules. I just enforce them. Jason Aponte, as always.
Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners, huh?